I finished my bachelor's degree at 19, then I walked into my first job out of college, completely debt-free, no loans, no payment plan, nothing. If you'd have told me that was possible when I was in high school, I honestly wouldn't have believed you. So today I want to actually walk you through what actually happened. Not the highlight reel version, but the real one. The doubts I had, the exact path I took, and what happened when I sat down in front of an interviewer at a major bank and had to explain where my degree actually came from. So let's get into it. So here's where I actually started the traditional path. Apply senior year, move to a campus 4 years, take out loans, figure it out later. That was never really my plan, not because I didn't want it, but because the math didn't make sense to me. I looked at what a 4 year degree was going to cost, I looked at how long it would take, and something in me said there has to be a smarter way to do this. That's when I first came across WGU, Western Governors University, and I'll be honest, my first reaction wasn't excitement, it was skepticism. An online school, competency-based, meaning you move at your own pace instead of sitting in a lecture hall, it sounded a little suspicious to me, or at best like a degree that nobody was going to respect. I had all the doubts you're probably having right now watching this. Would employers even recognize it? Would it feel like a real college experience? Was I setting myself up to save money now and regret it later? I didn't have the answers yet. I just had a hunch that it was worth actually looking into instead of just dismissing it. So here's the part people ask me about the most. How did I actually pull this off without loans? And the honest answer is transfer credits. WGU lets you bring in credit from other alternative credit providers, and instead of paying WGU's per term tuition to sit through some classes that could have been tested out of, I used study.com to knock out a huge chunk of my general education and some upper level classes. And study.com specifically became a big piece of that puzzle for me. It's set up like a subscription. You pay monthly and you can move through as many courses as you're able to complete in that time. So instead of paying WGU thousands of dollars per term for classes that were mostly gen ed either way, I was paying way less for a monthly subscription on study.com, working through courses as fast as I could actually learn the material, and then transferring those completed credits straight into my WGU degree plan. That one decision is really what made debt-free possible. It wasn't that WGU itself was really cheap. It was just that I was smart about which credits I paid full price for and which ones I knocked out for way less on study.com. By the time I got into my core WGU coursework, I had already cut a massive amount of time and cost off of my degree. And for reference, I got my bachelor's in finance at WGU, and I got most of it done with these alternative credit providers like study.com. It just saved, again, so much money. You can do it open book as well through study.com, and they're committed for the paper classes. They're committed to a 2-day grading turnaround, so you can get through them very quickly, again, compared to WGU classes, which take a lot longer. And I was also able to knock out some finance classes on study.com, which was extremely useful, so I didn't have to take those classes at WGU where they would eat up a lot of time during my 6-month term and cost me more money. And it wasn't always fun. There were weekends where I was just grinding through course after course to make the most of study.com. But every time I finished a class, I could actually see the finish line getting closer and closer without debt attached to it. So fast forward, I finished the degree, I'm 19, and now I'm sitting in an interview for a position at JPMorgan Chase. I remember getting ready for that interview and genuinely being nervous, not about my qualifications, but about how I got them. I kept thinking, what if they ask where I went to school? What if they hear online degree and immediately write me off? What if this whole thing I was so proud of became the thing that got me passed over? And then the interview happened, and none of that mattered. They never once asked about the format. They didn't care that it was online. They didn't even care that it was competency-based. No, they did not ask about study.com. They didn't ask about any of it. All they cared about was one box. Do you have a bachelor's degree? Yes or no? That box, that single line on a job requirement, would have cost me somewhere close to $50,000 in 4+ years to check the traditional way. I checked it for a fraction of that, faster and with a degree that carried the exact same weight in that room. That was the moment it really clicked for me that the stigma I'd been so worried about basically didn't exist where it actually mattered. Here's the part that I think matters even more than the degree itself, because I finished debt-free. Every paycheck I earned at JPMorgan Chase was actually mine. I wasn't sending a chunk of it off to a loan servicer every month. I was saving it. And that savings is what gave me the freedom to do something most people in my position are never able to do. I walked away from a stable banking job to go teach English in a foreign country. That's not a decision you get to make when you're carrying a bunch of student debt. But because of the path I took to get my degree, I had the options, which I'm incredibly grateful for, and I had the freedom to take a leap most people can't afford to take. That leap ended up changing the entire direction of my life. It's actually a big part of why I'm sitting here making this video today. So that's my story, how I finished a bachelor's degree at 19, debt-free, using transfer credit strategy instead of the traditional 4-year path, and how that one decision opened doors I didn't even know existed yet. If you want more breakdowns like this on how to cut the cost and time of your degree, on which platforms actually work, and which WGU programs are the smartest path for you specifically, subscribe to Degree Hacked. This is exactly what we cover here, and I'll see you in the next one.